So World Electric Vehicle Day is coming up. It's actually next week, the 9th of September. So with that in mind, I wanted to take a look at some money saving tips for you if you've got an electric vehicle. Now, of course, electric vehicles are not the cheapest to buy, but once you're starting to run them, they're actually a lot cheaper than petrol and diesel powered cars. My dad has an EV, I've got a petrol powered car, and it makes me sick knowing how much that it costs him to get a full tank, as it were, a full charge, compared to me. If I was to spend the same amount that he spends on getting a full charge for his car in petrol, for me, that is a splash and dash. That is not going to take me back to my hometown of Sheffield back in the day. So let's have a look. So the first of these EV tips really is, of course, just buying an EV. It sounds obvious, but if you're already driving an electric vehicle, then the great news is that you're already saving money compared to running a petrol or diesel powered car. The average driver spends more than £1,100 a year on petrol/diesel alone. Just switching to an electric car, charging at home could save your costs by almost a half. The average for that is around £416.50 for an entire year, and that's even with the new price cap that's coming in for electric companies, of course, as well, because they'll be allowed to charge you more from October. But on top of that as well, you've also got things like road tax. I don't think electric cars pay road tax, or if you live in London as well, until I think next year it's free to actually drive in the clean air zone. That will change obviously, but for now it is free. The second tip is to choose a dynamic home electric tariff. Again, you're going to be charging your car mainly from home, so you might as well try and control how that is charged and try and save some money if possible. So if you want to run an EV for less than £10 a month, this is the way to do it. It may sound too good to be true, but that's the reality if you switch to a dynamic home electricity tariff from the likes of Octopus or OVO. I'm with Octopus, they're very good, I do like them. That my electric bills are very cheap, to be fair. Thanks to its dynamic tariff integration with EV Charger, you can access all of the UK's cheapest electricity tariffs, meaning that you can reduce the running cost of your EV even more than what I just stated before. The same typical UK driver mentioned above, doing around 6,800 miles per year, could spend just £119 per year for driving. There have been weeks where I spent more in petrol than that for my petrol car, and that's for an entire year. Man, that is a no-brainer. The third tip, cheaper overnight electricity. So some dynamic home electricity tariffs can mean that all of the electricity coming into your house is at a cheaper rate at certain times of the day. And that's usually overnight, because we're usually asleep, so there's nobody using electricity. And that means that any household appliances that you can also use during those times will be at the same reduced rate, increasing your savings on your household bills as well as for your EV. So if you want to go for a midnight snack, come and whip something up in the air fryer, it's cheaper doing that in the middle of the day. Although I do not recommend midnight snacks, it's not good for you. Then again, I'm the one to talk. The fourth tip is to get an EV company car. People know about company cars. There's ways to save lots of money with company cars. If you have a company car, then you need to get an EV. It's a really simple thing to do. Electric vehicles pay just 2% benefit in kind company car tax for the 2024-25 tax year that we're currently in. Another popular alternative is to get an EV on a salary sacrifice scheme from your employer. All sorts of tax benefits with that. For salary sacrifice, the leasing payments are taken from your gross income before you pay tax rather than after, as with traditional car company scheme, leaving you with more disposable income. Something I'm definitely going to try and do in the future. Then the final of the 5 tips is to take part in a grid flexibility trial. This summer, Ohm has been involved in an Ofgem project called the CrowdFlex Energy Trial, and this project was to incentivize EV drivers to plug in their cars more frequently to get a better understanding of the role that an EV driver can play with balancing the electricity grid of the future. By participating in the trial, the drivers earned rewards by simply plugging in whatever they were parked at home. Is involved in a similar trial for this month until April 2025. Grid flexibility services such as these are estimated to save consumers around £10 billion per year in energy costs by 2050. So there you go, guys. Having an electric car is very cheap once you actually get it. It's expensive to buy, admittedly, but prices for those are coming down. I did a video recently going on about how the prices of used electric vehicles are actually cheaper in a lot of cases than their petrol or diesel equivalents. So please do check that out if you've not already. And of course, keep it subscribed to the Motoring Chronicle to see much more motoring and motorsport news just like this.